Alright, well, supposedly there's a final log I need to record somewhere. I've got the baby. I guess that's it. I just leave. Probably, I just leave. It's time for confession. No, it's not. So is the world ending out here? Huh. What is this music? Ugh. Nice lynched body. Whoa, look at the sun. The sun's going supernova, I think. Yeah, I think the sun's going supernova. It's gonna blow up the planet. What the fuck? What kind of plot is this? God. Huh? What am I trying to record? This? What's this? Achievement! Revelations! Witness the end.
She's gonna be okay. You have her. She'll get to grow up. She'll do everything she was born to do.
Everyone's fucking dead. Look at this. Like a throne. Whoa, it is. The sun's going supernova. Now we're back at school.
Hey, Blake. Try to find me. I'm over here.
Over here? No, you're not. You lied. Haha, you're in here. In the cafeteria, yep.
This way, Blake. Don't
She's
worry.
dead, look. Look at her head.
I'll never let you go. You never let me go. Now the light has gone away. Savior, listen while I pray, begging thee to watch and keep, and send me quietly to sleep. Watchful Savior, wash away all I've been wrong today. Help me every day to be gentle, gentle, more like thee.
Wow. Born again. Finish the game. Well, Bradley Mason, 1993, in the stream chat, just has this theory, this piece of lore. He says the Murkoff Corporation put up radio towers that sent out these signals that apparently made everyone go crazy, which is why you had the Christians, the heretics, and they were seeing all this crazy shit, and him too, as he systematically lived out there with them. The main character went crazy, right? Think about his past, and this girl in the past who had died, he lost his mind with that too. I mean, that would make sense if that's the case, but there's literally nothing in the game that would lend itself for you to know that. So the Murkoff Corporation, for those who don't remember, was the corporation in the first game who were doing the research on the crazy people in the insane asylum, and down in the sub-basement, they were doing human experimentation, and they were trying to link ghosts, or the Wall Rider ghost, or entity, whatever that was, with humans and stuff. But yeah, that was pretty weird. At least, I'm gonna say this. The plot's interesting, and at least you get some answers by the end about that whole plot line of the past. But unlike, you know, Outlast 1, when it finishes, yeah, there's an air of mystery, like what was the Wall Rider? Was it a ghost or whatever? But at least you had answers. Here you have no answers. Like, if you don't look up lore and everything, Bradley Mason says there's one piece of documentation in the entire game that links to someone from the Murkoff Corporation about the towers. Huh. Because if you remember, during the game, there were those big explosions. Remember, there were those big boom explosions that would happen in the background, and then everyone would be like frozen, and sometimes you'd be really like knocked into the back in time to the school. So I guess what those were those supposed to be the radio towers the Murkoff Corporation created, sending out the signal, and it would, you know, mind fuck everyone when it sent it out or something. Huh. So, I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest here with everyone. Was the game horrible? No. The game was not horrible. Was the game entertaining? Yes. I'm glad I played it. It was a fun ride. But honestly, I don't think it was anywhere near as good as the first game. I think the first game constantly built this air of mystery. You know what I mean? Until the end, when it was like huge, a huge explosion of plot at the very end. That was nuts. And then, of course, you had the DLC that fleshed out stuff even more. But gameplay-wise, I actually think the gameplay of the first game was much better, and the reason I want to say that is because in this game, what they strove to do was make it bigger, wider. Now you're not inside of an asylum anymore in enclosed spaces hiding under desks. No, you're in this giant town, and you could go all around, you know, to solve puzzles, different areas. You have to backtrack, and you have to avoid the enemies the same way you did in the first game. But I don't think it's as good. I think that actually having a survival element in a more confined space works better. Especially because if, like, there's a puzzle you can't figure out, at least if you wander around, there's not as wide of a giant area to wander around and try to figure shit out. In this game, the problem is it's too expansive to the point where you could get lost and or just taking a half hour to beat a simple puzzle. And if you had stumbled upon it in 5 seconds, you could have done it on the first try. But if you didn't have the luck to stumble upon it, now you have to wander around in the dark for 45 minutes. I don't know about that, you know? Like, I honestly think the gameplay of the original game was better in what it did. Not to say I didn't like this game. Like I said, I think the plot was actually interesting. Although, I would have liked a more definitive ending where it says it was the Murkoff Corporation with radio towers and all that, which we didn't get here. Here we just got this kind of very ambiguous ending. So, alright. So, Outlast 2, not a bad game. I definitely enjoyed playing it over the past day or so. But I actually think I like the first game better, but still not a bad one. That's kind of cool that there's these towers are creating these crazy scenarios. I mean, if that is the case, then they can make a third game completely different. Third game could be like in a city, and people are going nuts in a city seeing shit, and you could have all kinds of psychological horror going on in a city with people going nuts too, right? This is just a case where I guess maybe Murkoff put a radio tower out in a hick area, you know, they're thinking, oh, we put it out in the woods, no one will care if those people go crazy or whatever, so we can test it out and see how it works, but... Alright, so... No, Bradley, oh my god, Bradley apparently has looked up all kinds of plot and lore. Hold on, we're gonna read it. I'm gonna talk about this too. Okay? So let's talk about this. So Bradley Mason, 1993, has the lore of the game, and he says, apparently, in terms of Jessica's death, the priest did not kill Jessica, but he was beating her and or abusing her. Jessica hung herself because Blake liked Lynn, not her, and because Blake abandoned her in the school. So apparently in that flashback, alright, that flashback wasn't 100% accurate. I guess he had left her to be abused by the priest, and then later on she just killed herself, so he always felt the guilt because he had never told anyone about what was going on at the school in regards to the abuse of Jessica and all of that. I mean, and that would make sense, because at the end of the game, if he's losing his mind and going completely insane, right, then, you know, he always had the guilt of Jessica's death in the back of his head, and that's why you keep seeing the flashbacks during the course of the game. And at the end of the game, he completely loses his mind, and he ends up with Jessica again in the locker where it all started. Well, it certainly wasn't a bad game. Like I said, the gameplay mechanics, they work, but I don't think they work as well as the first game. I think that honestly, like I said, Outlast 1 was a better game, especially the plot was a little bit more coherent in my opinion, but it still was not a bad game, and I'm happy that I played it. I want to say, oh, and by the way, Flugsaft just said, the wife didn't actually give birth. She was underground, so she didn't get any of the flashes, and that's why she said there's nothing there. Ah, so the wife, Lynn, was underground the whole time in the mines, so the radio tower flashes didn't affect her, right? So she really wasn't pregnant, and she didn't actually give birth. Or maybe she thought she was pregnant, but she wasn't. And when the baby gave birth, she said there's nothing there, and that's when she died. I don't know. It's very confusing, but apparently the baby never existed. It was just everyone going nuts because of the radio towers. What a weird ending. Why don't they explain that in the game? Why is this not explained? Why couldn't they have had a definitive explanation at the end to explain everything? I don't know. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my playthrough of Outlast 2. I hope that you enjoyed it. And that's that. Alright? Thanks everyone for watching. Peace out and see you later.